So is it worth it to spend your hard-earned money on making a lightsaber at Hollywood Studios and Disney World or doing the droid building at Hollywood Studios? My name is Kelly. My husband and I took my 16-year-old son to Hollywood Studios and we saw Star Wars Land for the first time, and we decided to experience both of these so that we could see what it was like and bring it back to you and let you know, is it worth it and what are the differences? So first of all, we have, all three of us kind of have a different spectrum of Star Wars, frankly. My husband, diehard fan, grew up on it, loves it, knows everything about it. My 16-year-old son is kind of more, I would say, in the middle. He liked it, but he doesn't love it. And then I'm kind of more, I would say, the same. Like I love the movies. I watched Mandalorian, but wasn't sure. So this experience is kind of taken the full gamut. So first of all, the lightsaber making and the droid building, what are some of the similarities? First of all, they're both expensive. We'll talk about costs when we're talking about, but they both are expensive. You don't need to make reservations for, but it is recommended to make reservations for, especially on the lightsaber building and especially if you're going at peak times. Now, we did not go at peak time. It was in December, before the Christmas holiday rush. And we did not make reservations before we got there for the droid building at all. We were able to walk right in. On the lightsaber building, we actually made it while we were having dinner at 50's Primetime Cafe around 6:30 that night. And we made it for like 7:30 when we were done and we were able to get in. But there was a line still even at that time, but we were able to make a reservation. So I do recommend, if you can, making a reservation. Another similarity of both things is you are allowed to bring in one guest. So they call it like you have a builder of the product and then you have a guest, and only one guest. So for the droid and for the lightsaber, my husband went with my son for the droid building and I was able to observe from like an observation area. And then on the lightsaber, I went with my son and my husband wasn't able to go at all. There's no observing of the lightsaber making. But I would say, unless you have really diehard people that want their own item, we both agreed it was just as fun being an observer because you're kind of working with the person anyway. So I don't think, unless the person is absolutely having to have their own, you have kids that need to have their own, I think being the guest and the builder and sharing it can be just as good of an experience in our opinion. So let's talk about some of the differences. So the lightsaber making, and this is the product. So again, we made the reservation and you start off with meeting with somebody outside the area and they ask you who's going to be your builder, who's going to be your maker, and who's going to be your observer. And the builder gets a button. So it's a button that shows they are the maker. So they were, I guess, a little bit more strict on that, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. And then outside of the thing, you pick your handle. I'll call it the handle, or I'm sure there's a formal name, the hilt style. This style that you'd like to be. And they had 4 categories. And the one is peace and justice, power and control, elemental nature, and protect and defense. Now, my son Jackson picked protect and defense, which is the style hilt that we got. He got his button. We went into the queue, if you will. And then we enter a room, and it is extremely themed. So if you are whether you, like I said, are like Jackson and I, you're like, Star Wars is good, we like it, or you're diehard, you'll love this. It very much was 100% themed to Star Wars. There is one thing to note, there is no flash photos or flash video, but you are allowed to take photos and video as long as your flash is off. So you'll see some clips here, but you can take it, just no flash. And then you start building your lightsaber. And I would say it's heavy duty. I mean, this piece is plastic, but this piece is, got metal components or hard metal components and plastic components, and it's got weight to it. It is not your, plastic one that, we used to get. And so what happens is they basically give you just a few options of these components, and all these components kind of twist off, and you're picking a few options of those components. And there is a helper there for every area that's kind of helping you. There's, I guess I would call it a dramatic story. So you're kind of immersed in a story with them in full character mode. And then you pick a color light of whatever you choose to pick. And Jackson picked blue. And it took, I would say the whole experience took about 15 to 20 minutes. Jackson and I gave it about a 9 out of 10. We really did enjoy it. Again, it is expensive. The cost for this was $199.99 plus tax. At least when we went, which was December of 2023. It may change in cost. So it is expensive, but you do get to bring this home with you, and it does come with a carrying case as well. So it's got a padded carrying case that you put it in, so it doesn't break, and you're able to put it on your shoulder or your back and carry it around. It was allowed on the airplane. You do have to put it up in the upper bin, or at least when we flew with Southwest, we had to put it up in the upper bin, and it did lay in there just fine if you're not able to put it under your seats, and we weren't able to because of the length of it. So if that's a concern, don't worry. It was allowed on the airplane. So then the droid building. And honestly, Jackson gave this a 10 out of 10. He loved both. We both thought it was really fun, but he preferred the droid building. And the reason is it's basically a conveyor belt of parts. So it literally, it's very themed. You're not immersive in a story per se, like you are with the LightSaber building, which really is immersed in the story. This is more like you're like a Build-A-Bear. You're building a droid. And if you've ever done a Build-A-Bear. And so it's a conveyor belt, very themed, of parts. And he and his guest, which was his dad, was allowed to then build the droid. And so he gave us a 10 out of 10, and mainly because he liked having the more options. He kind of liked being able to build it. And the cost of this was, at least when we went, was $119.99 for the droid. Now you can upgrade, and we did get the bundle package. So you can upgrade and buy just the droid for $119.99. They also had droids that are already pre-built. So if you're not interested in building it, you can buy the droids pre-built to the character that you want. We really wanted the experience of building. So then you can get a backpack for your droid. That's $49.99. And your droid sits in the backpack, and he peeks out of it and talks kind of out of it as well when you're walking around. So it's a backpack, and honestly, super, super cute. I probably have it backwards here right now. Super cute, because when you're walking around Hollywood Studios, you'll see people with their backpacks on and the droid talking in its robot language as you're walking. So it really is cute. And the other nice thing about this backpack is it's got like safety plastic mechanisms, I would call it. It actually can be kind of hard to get out on occasion because they actually built that so that when you have this flap open and you're walking around, somebody can't just steal it from you. So it really is, in our opinion, it was worth it to get the backpack. If we were going to buy the droid building anyway, we felt it was worth it to get the backpack. And then we decided also to get the bundle pack. So the third piece of it was the personality. You got to pick a personality for the droid, and Jackson picked the funny personality. I'm not sure, honestly, there's much difference in the personalities. They have, other personalities you can pick, but it's droid speak, right? It's robot speak. So there really wasn't that much of a difference in our opinion, but it did make it kind of fun with the experience as well. And then, so that whole thing, if you bought it, again, the backpack separate, $49.99, the droid, $119.99. And I think it was like $200, a little over $200. I don't have the exact price, to add the personality in as well, which we did. Now, one thing that's really fun that Jackson enjoyed too is you can race them. So there's like little pads outside the area in the Star Wars land that you can actually race with your droids and race around the pad with other people, which also makes it kind of fun. So he gave the droid building just an edge up of 10 out of 10 compared to the LightSaber building. So that was really, really fun. So was this worth it? You know, in our opinion, it was. It was expensive. We budgeted for it. It was fine. You do need to budget for it. We do think having a guest and sharing that experience is fine. I do think it's for all ages, and I do think whether you enjoy Star Wars or not, you will enjoy this. And so I think that's important to know. And if you're worried about, oh gosh, I don't have a kid to bring with me, so am I going to look silly if I'm just with adults? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, there was more adults doing the lightsaber building and frankly the droid building than there were kids. I would say maybe there was a few more kids on the droid building, but on the lightsaber building, it was mainly adults. And you'll see adults sorting with them outside. It is totally fine. Do not be worried that if you're an adult and don't have a kid about doing these experiences if you want to. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe and take a look at this next video.